just quickly recapped what we went through in the previous calls over the last few months first, Cyril, or do you remember what we covered
sorry, wait, would you repeat that? In the recording thing
sorry.
Talked over you.
Shall we start recapping what we've been through in previous sessions? Would that help with you, or?
Yeah, sure. I actually don't
we
have that notebook with me right here, but I think you know it, what these were. But yeah, sure, we can do a little.
Well, if you look, I think our first one was back in March, wasn't it, where we spoke about kind of the values that we have, and do you remember doing that values-based test?
Right.
Do you remember what came out of that one for you? Got the top 3 to 5 values.
Yes. God, isn't that terrible? You're already so important, and then like, what is it? No, it was creativity, like love or family or community or something, and then I think there was probably growth. I remember growth.
Brilliant. So the whole premise of that talk essentially was sort of how can we go about aligning our spending and investment habits in line with those values. So you mentioned family, right? Well, are my day-to-day habits in line with spending more time with my family or growing my business, for example? And Natalie did a little bit about what those values actually feel like, because it's one thing thinking them, it's, well, how does that value feel like for me personally? We've got you to rate them out of 10. And ask them the question, well, am I honouring those values in my life? And then what would we need to do to make that value a 10? So that was almost the first part of that talk, if you remember.
Yeah. It's funny. Oh, go on.
No, you go. I
was just realizing that that I think the values, I think we spoke about it, that they shift, according to, and I can already see that, this has shifted a little bit. I mean, family is still there. Growth is now, I think, my, and growth also meaning self-growth, financial growth, growth in, intellectual, spiritual, everything. That is, I can tell, my top requirement. But it's true.
Have you seen improvements in those areas since then?
Yeah, I was just about to say, it's true that since starting with you guys, I have, even though it's almost subconscious now, but I mean, I got it from you and put it in there, and it's, been percolating. But it is true. I'm very aware of where I'm spending my money now, and it is naturally aligned to these things. So it is really with the family or with growth, and that feels very like aligned. Like if I think about how I was in March, it was I feel more like chaotic or something, or that I wasn't, like clear, and I feel so much clearer now in how I'm operating. I mean, I think multiple things are coming to make that happen, but this sort of focus on, okay, I want to figure this out. How do I do this? Let's apply the energy. And we talked about the feelings. Like I was saying, money is so much fun.
Well, that links to language a lot, Cyril, doesn't it, as well? Like the fact that you brought that mantra through, and that's so much about the language you're using, right? Like
right. And that was today's theme, right? Yeah, so I think And then I've done a lot of focus on actually getting the work and being more consistent with that. And because of this Girls Visible, artist program, that's also dovetailing into this and making me more like accountable to myself. Before I think I would hide a little more and, like, oh, we can do that later. And now I'm like,
yeah.
What, it's June already. When are we gonna not hide? Time to step up.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so I think I for sure I'm not at the point of investing or anything. So I'm like at the kind of ground level. So it hasn't translated to like a larger story, but I did write a list. It was just this random moment of like, oh, because I had a potential job that I was going to ask I asked for the craziest amount that I've ever asked for. I didn't get the job. That's fine. But it was a great exercise. And I made a list of all the things that I would do if I actually got that money. And those were all very aligned to the values and a few fun things thrown in there. But
Brilliant.
But that was also really mind opening. Like I don't never even allow myself to fantasize in that kind of way. So that was important.
Well, that's exactly what the last part of that session was all about, wasn't it? It's, well, what are we trading our money for life energy for? Because we've got to just find actually what money is to us, didn't we? We've got to work out, right, well, how many hours am I spent doing my day-to-day job? What am I actually earning? And then given your net hourly wage, are my spending habits aligned with spending more time with my family? And it sounds to me like that has made a little bit of an impact there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in one way, it was a little bit scary, that exercise, because, like, for instance, right now I'm doing this branding project, and I thought we would be done in a month ago, and she's still like, oh, it's not quite right. And in my mind, I'm trying not to think of it this way, but it's just like, oh my God, I don't even know how to charge her now, because it's gone so long, and I can't, actually charge her the amount of hours that I've put into this. And so that exercise was a little like,
like boundaries there around, like, probably a really interesting test of like, how much do you want to honor your values around this? Because I think sometimes when we start changing, we get a few tests from the universe around like, are you sure it's like a prod, like, are you sure you want this, and that can be really hard. But actually that's when we need to dig our heels in and say, no, this is something that I'm going to honor, because that's when it will actually stay and be something that becomes a commitment, I guess.
Right. And I'm working with another woman, so I'm going to ask her how to do this now, because it did take so long. I mean, and part of it was that the woman changed her mind, but part of it was that I did not understand her vision in the beginning, and that I feel like was my fault, because I didn't have a clear walkthrough process and here we're going to build a brand together, new founder, here's what all the things you need to think about. And I didn't do that process. So it was a learning curve for me. But just back to that hourly test, whatever, was like, oh God, I don't think I want to know this. But hopefully what I am thinking of this now is that this was a investment in myself and doing this kind of work, and that it's, I can't look at it as a dollar sign right now. I just have to look at it that, okay, next client, I'll have these processes in place. Hopefully it'll be then a lot faster, certainly a lot clearer. And I just have to like suck it up and kind of, I mean, right?
There's lots of learning there, isn't there, that you wouldn't have had. So it's about kind of really using that and almost then having a really clear offer I guess, for the next.
Exactly, this clear offer. Like, and we were unclear to begin with too. We were already struggling with that. So I think you're exactly right that this whole process has just shown me a lot of things that I don't want to do, and how we can shift that to where I do want to do it. Yeah, so it's been really good. I mean, I definitely feel like you put ideas in my mind that just, you know, kind of hovered around, and then I was making different decisions, and having different awareness.
We're actually going to have to get a little testimonial from you, aren't we, Serena?
Yeah, sure.
Amazing, just about a few of the things that you do feel like how, you know, where it made a difference. I think that would be really powerful for us to use next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It has been a trial, but we definitely both feel like this is, especially for me, I'm like, if I can help people in this area, then we can do anything. Like money is the biggest kind of cause of what's the biggest thing, right? For like most people in the population, there's a trigger or there's some kind of uncomfortable relationship with money. And I think if we can do it in this area, you can do it anywhere. Like if you can retrain your mind around money, like so powerful.
Yeah.
I was going to say, and that's exactly the premise of the second session, wasn't it? It's all about the beliefs that we have around money. You know, common beliefs, maybe like the money is the root of all evil, or I'm selfish to want money, or I'm not good enough for money. And if you remember, we went around trying to reverse that on its head, to saying money is the root of everything good, for example. You know, and it's just that very simple technique, because ultimately those subconscious beliefs will have a massive impact in terms of attitude to money and how we manage it later on down the line.
Yeah, that was my favorite session, I think, actually, the beliefs.
Yeah.
Because so much, like, it's that pyramid of 95% of us are subconscious, we said, didn't we? And 5% of us are conscious. And 95% of us, if we don't reprogram some of that, we're just on autopilot. We actually aren't in control of our own decisions in life, you know.
Yeah. And did you manage to do any exercises following from that one? So we said, well, there's 4 tips that I gave away. The first thing is to kind of journal, you know, journal for the things we're grateful that money has given us. And I said visualize. So if you want to visualize, like you say, I don't know, spending more time with your family or growing your business, you know, have those on your wall as soon as you wake up. And then have some like positive money affirmations. So I am worthy, for example. And then the 4th one, which is what's going to talk about today, is learning more. So actually learning more about the financial world and being more comfortable with it, because more often than not, if we don't know something, we shy away from it, don't we?
Right.
So did you get very far with those 4 at all? Or
yeah, and in fact, you just reminded me, because I did make it was through the other girls' course, and I put some things together, but I just realized, I forgot to do specific money affirmations. But I am journaling, so I do that, and and I do have a mood board that I'm looking at, I do have affirmations, but they weren't specifically, it was like, you know, abundance, prosperity, but I think I would like to do a more specific one that's not just this kind of, you know, I handle money well, or money will stay with me, you know, or I think, was it with you that we were talking, now I might mix this with Kabbalah, maybe it was, the abandonment, because I think one of the people said they're afraid that money will abandon them, or was it one of the women saying that?
I think it was one of the other ladies on the call.
Yeah, because that's right, because that resonated with me. And then it was interesting because in Kabbalah that came up to this idea of abandonment itself, and that it's the fear. Let's see, what is it? You have to like turn it upside down and say, what is the fear? Oh God, what is the fear now of abandonment? That they had a way that you twist it, sort of like you're just talking about, that you turn it upside down, and then, you know, there's this illuminating moment, but it's
exactly right.
So illuminating
exactly right.
that it's elusive right now.
That's it.
But these are good, David. I will go back and put, and so now I'm looking at this thing every morning. And I even did a self-recorded like little meditation with, and those are more money oriented. But you're just reminding me that I need to go back and put specific money affirmations in this daily thing that I'm looking at. So I'm trying to reprogram. It's not, you know, I mean, I think it's like meditation where you're doing it and you're like, is this doing anything? And then suddenly one day you're like, whoa, I just responded totally different to, you know, that situation. So I think this is what's happening with the money thing. Like it's, you know, my bank account hasn't changed dramatically, but my feelings around it.
These things take time. It's not going to happen overnight. Years and years down the line. These things will start compounding. And then, of course, we're into thoughts, didn't we, Natalie? So
yeah, that was, we didn't have, I think we only had one person on that week, but we literally did a bit of a thought diary. So we basically looked back, and this could be something actually you might still want to do, Cyril, in terms of on an average week, what kind of, because we have 70,000 thoughts a day, 80% of them are negative.
Right.
So you can start to see what we're up against, right? Like that's quite hard for us human beings to get through a day, just because of the nature of our mind being against us. But yeah, we did a thought diary, and we thought through doing that, we can identify the really strong ones that affect us a lot. And there's actually usually 3 or 4 thoughts that are on loop. And they're the same thoughts that affect your mood and behavior as a result. And it's maybe, I don't deserve money, for example, or and actually, if we can get really clear on that when they happen, you can reframe them in that moment, which then helps you then counteract the behavior. So that might be something to do at some point. Just
that would be good.
About that. It's linked to beliefs. It's kind of hard with a belief and a thought, like what the difference is. But a thought is something in that moment that actually, like, you know, like with meditation, it's a thought is something that almost comes up in that moment. A belief is more rooted in your childhood or in your past. That's the way to differentiate them, really.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I can hear a very dominant core negative belief that I would very much like to support him out. Sorry, I made it.
Yeah, and it's funny because I had a client, it's a really good point. I had a client the other day say to me, and I realized with my thoughts, I'm inviting them in for tea. And I really liked that concept that she said, like, I've been realizing I've been sitting down for tea with these negative thoughts and inviting them in, like, come in, you know. And it's like, I love what you just said around, no, you're not welcome here, you know, because that's what we're doing. We're entertaining it. And it's about saying, no, I don't have time for that thought. I know it's not true. And that breaks the cycle. A lot of this is cognitive behavioral therapy as well. It's the technique that a lot of clinical like commissioners use with regards to this area. And it is not giving time and energy to the thought, because the more you focus on the thought, the more it becomes real and, you know, and based in reality, really.
I heard another one that's similar to that. It was some lama kind of guy that said, you have these thoughts, they come in as if they're going for tea. Show them the back door, you know, like
let them carry on
traversing through. It's kind of hard to like shut the door and say, you know, that feels, so let it flow, but just don't let them sit down and stop for tea.
Well, they say about the buses as well, they're like, you wouldn't get on every single bus that crossed the road, would you? So why would you get on board with every thought that came into your mind? I love that concept. It's so true. You're like, I wouldn't get anywhere getting on every bus, you know.
I like that. Don't get on every bus.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay.
Brilliant. And of course, today is all about language.
Yeah.
The language we have about money. Do you want to just quickly start with that, and then I'll finish
Yeah,
towards
me.
the
Yeah,
end.
I'm going to just run through a little paragraph we've put together on this, just that gives you a premise of how we're going to approach this. It's slightly different because we're going to use beliefs and thoughts and then language, but we're actually going to focus on the relationship, almost our relationship with money for this session. So I'll just read a short paragraph, and then if you've got any questions, we can unpick it. Okay. Yes. So this is all about having an understanding or speaking the language of our money. So we're talking about having a general idea of how our finances work. So we've talked a lot about this, becoming an expert in this area. So we're not necessarily asking you to build a cash flow analysis in Excel, but having a general discussion around money and understanding kind of some of those words that maybe we don't currently understand that might enable us to actually build this relationship over time. So I really like this example of, can you speak the same language as your money? And how much time have you really invested in this relationship? So if you had a friend who spoke Japanese and you spoke English and neither of you spoke the other language, how close could you become and how quickly? If that friend then made an attempt to learn English, but you had made no effort to return the favor and learn at least a few phrases, the relationship would feel one-sided to the other person. And to some extent, that relationship will be limited. So it's that same concept of, if we need to invest some time in that relationship with money, we need to make an effort to speak its language, to really try and understand its quirks, and really try and become, in our own way, fluent. So the question we're going to explore is knowledge around money. And how much respect we give to money as well. Are we showing our money respect by staying interested in it? Or is it very flippant? A lot of us can be kind of, quite flippant with money, and almost, that respect piece of, really, are we grateful for what it gives us and what it provides us? And so it's showing care and attention by learning its language, so we can communicate and be in the flow with it and embrace that dance, with money, like we do with other relationships in our lives. It's not about taking any finance courses, but I hope that you kind of get what we're kind of trying to go with here, because it's about thinking, do I deserve, it's all about energy balance, isn't it? Like, do I put in anything to then get that back? Do I deserve that relationship back? Am I really appreciating what that can give and offer me? And I think it's a really interesting perspective.
Yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily take financial courses in this, definitely, but just to kind of echo what you said, there is only one ultimate common tongue language, isn't there? And that is the language of money. No matter where you are in the world, that terminology means the same thing. So what we're going to have to start doing is really learning about the language of money, and it's better to do that early rather than later. Like with any language, it's always easy to learn French when you're 5 years old and you're later on down the line. So I guess the question is, what relationship do you want with money?
Okay.
And therefore, the more you learn about the terminology and what things mean, the better that relationship is going to become. Because like Natalie said, if you want to form a good relationship with a Japanese person, you're probably going to have to learn Japanese. So what relationship do you want with it? And then you can let them understand the language to almost manifest more of it. So are you showing money respect by being interested in its language? So a question I wanted to ask you, kind of kick us all off, is, are there any generic money language terms that you go, what the blimming hell are they talking about, when you put on, I'm not suggesting you start putting on Bloomberg and all these TV shows, but are there any terms that you just go, what the bloody hell is that, kind of thing,
like in terms of like investment, like this kind of like actual physical, I mean, I don't even know the terminology, but like the IRAs, the all of that kind of stuff. Do you mean
interest rates, compound interest? What's a bond, asset allocation? What's a dividend? What's a yield? What's a blah, 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 blah. And anything you can think of, because that is the language of money, isn't it? Ultimately. And this is what I'm talking about. It's learning about these words because you don't understand it. It's like what we came to on the first couple of sessions. You don't understand it, and if you don't know about it and you get scared of it, then that again subconsciously will affect how you manage money. And I guess this is where I can really come in, obviously as a financial advisor, to try and educate, teach people. Well, look, all that term means is a very fancy term for meaning this. It's not hard. It's just that's what it means.
Yeah.
So that was an exercise I was going to go through today. Just obviously just spending a little bit of time on that.
That's really interesting, because I definitely put my head in the sand with all of this. I mean, I don't even have a retirement account, and I have this like fantasy, you know, like, okay, when I get myself sorted, you know, I mean, I'm a freelancer, then I'll, you know, well, it will make more sense to have a need to understand this language. But you're absolutely right. And I mean, I know compound interest in a negative way on credit card bills, for instance, or Einstein calling it the seventh wonder of the world, which is fantastic. And I get that. And I told my daughter, okay, we gotta, you know, I did start a fund for them when they were young. Now it had to end because of their age. But I had a chart in one book, and it showed, you know, the time and the interest, and how she could be a millionaire just with, you know, if she put, you know, 10,000 per month for a few months, and then, you know, at 70, she's, dividends are, I guess, if you, are investing in a company, and at the after the profits are quarterly accrued or whatever, then you're given a dividend, a percentage of your. Is this true? I don't know.
That's exactly it. And
you're doing so well. You think you know more than you think.
It definitely is. It's simply income from the amount you invest into a company, and they will give you a return back. So you know, a lot of these things you don't need to overcomplicate. Dividend basically just means income. The same with sort of like yield. It just means the amount of growth you're receiving from that investment.
Oh, what's the difference between yield and dividend?
The yield is the amount of growth you're receiving. Dividend is just a form of income payments from an investment. So if you invest into Microsoft, they will agree to give their customers a certain amount of income back from that investment, and that is the dividend or the dividend yield. So again, I'm not going to spend today going into great details in terms of what all this terminology means. It's really simple, but just trying to get at the fact that we do need to learn about these things, and perhaps, you know, going through each one is probably not for today, for another session entirely. But like you just said, you know, you mentioned pensions earlier. You know, sometimes I think when people talk about retirement pensions, they kind of freeze up. They panic, don't they? Like, oh my living hell, what the hell is this? But why?
Right.
Why do we feel like this when we're talking about pensions? And it's because I guess we almost feel like it's out of our control, because it's with the big wigs in the city that are so much more clever than us, even though they're not. You know, and the sooner we can therefore take control of these things, the better our situation will be, the better our retirement will be, and the better that we'll be able to live the life on our terms, because we can end up going out doing these so-called complex investments that these other people over here are doing, that know all the terminology, and speaking to you, using their language to you, and you're going, what? Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to get across here with this language part, is really trying to understand that. And maybe spending a bit of time on yourself, yes, but obviously, you know, if you want to have a one-on-one session with me about learning this stuff, then, you know, again, out of the scope of this call. But
this is where the follow-up and stuff would be really good, because I know mine's gone on to like on to kind of how we actually embed all the activities and stuff, but I'm thinking like a quiz with some kind of key terminology and stuff.
Right, exactly.
Because it's almost, that's great, but we kind of want to give some specific examples of people going away finding out the information, coming back, and that would be a really good addition, I think, really.
Yes,
but
yes.
Well, you mentioned earlier, so you mentioned investing for your children. Did you say that?
It was just a
it was a book.
I don't even know the interest rates of it, and it ended. It was like an account when you had a child, the bank, I don't know, when in the hospital, they came with like some flyer and said, here, invest in your child. But
it's quite a good marketing technique. Was it just when you've had a baby, or I'm not sure that's legal.
No, it's a good thing. It wasn't any, it was just like an account that had a higher interest rate, long term, with your child's name on it, and it was through Bank Austria, so it's not like it was, some, and but I didn't utilize it well because I don't know why I didn't think it through, but I only deposited like I forget, a very, very low amount each month. So in the end, it wasn't even, it was like, a pathetic amount in the end. But it ended up, what I did do was I transferred the money to my daughter when the account ended, and that was on her 16th birthday. And so it was a nice, I was like, okay, it wasn't, the millionaire status. And I did try a little bit, but at least it was a nice 16-year-old,
Because there's a stat that I saw the other day that if you were to invest just 100 quid a month for a child from, have you gone? Oh, I think she's left us. So let's continue.
I saw that I was running out, but I didn't have a moment to say, let me get my
no worries. I was just explaining, because in terms of, because what you're talking about there effectively on the fly is compound interest.
Yes.
It's what can you get your child at a certain age, and it was like something like if you invested only about £50 or £100 a month for your child from an early age, from the age of like 1 or 2, which you can do, junior pensions, whatever. That guarantee that child will all guaranteed to almost be a millionaire by the time they reach the age of 65, and that's not taking much growth into that at all on the fund. And that's just the effect that compound interest has over time. And of course, if you're reading that and not really understanding that, then you're like, what the blimmin' hell? Because all compound interest it's money on the money on the money you're saving.
Yeah.
And it's just little things like that if people can suddenly start, understanding that and compartmentalizing that, and
but it's interesting when you're talking about the language of money. I am actually seeing 2 languages that you have to learn. That one is, this kind of specific, dividends, compound interest, But then there's also, it feels like a language of of love, of acceptance, of care, of respect, like this relationship kind of language that you were referring to. And to me, if it's like, I don't know, I don't speak Japanese yet, so it feels kind of, dry, let's say, the compound interest, all of this kind of stuff yielding. Maybe when I actually learn it and am able to, play with it, it'll be a little more fulfilling or something. But I'm even wondering if, because I'm not in the financial, I'm just on like, can I make it through this month? Let alone the other the other side. And so I'm wondering if maybe the language that I need to adopt first is this relationship language, you know, and the, okay, let's start dating, you know, let's start.
I love that. I love that. I actually think that comes first, because if you don't have a genuine interest and you're trying to learn about all these financial, you know, names, it's not going to land, and you're just doing it for the sake of doing it. I think it's about really like understanding that it's out of balance to start with. Like, money is one of the things that actually we don't as a society appreciate in any way. It's just a given, or for a lot of people it's a given, or it has this relationship with hard work, or there's this kind of real negative energy around it. But actually, you know, at what point do we maybe buy ourselves something or get a gift from a friend and really genuinely feel grateful for that, what money brings us? Probably not that often. I think we need to start there, because if you're not invested in that, you're not going to want to learn. So it's about recognizing there's an unbalance first, and then going, okay, well, I'm really choosing to then educate myself in this area. You're not going to just learn about something that, you know, you don't have an interest in. So
right, that resonates with me, because I feel like, you know, if you actually think of a relationship, you it's a slower process. You're going more with your feelings and then you're learning more and more, like, the, you know, what his job is, what he's doing, what his and then it gets like more technical, let's say, because it's true. If I think about all of this, the language of money that you're speaking of, let's say the technical aspects of money, it doesn't thrill me, you know. It doesn't like say, oh wow, I can't wait to learn. Although that was good to understand yield, I never quite got that. But to what I'm getting from you both is that I need to go there, you know, and not put the blinders up. So start in the way that I feel it works with me. I'll start with this language of love, let's say, and then be open to learning then these more technical, you know, bringing those in, and maybe just one term at a time. So it's not somehow it's always given in such a way that you're like, these books, like oh my God.
It's too much, isn't it? It's like breaking it down. I really like what you said about dating, like dating. I think that's actually, David, I think that might be like the name of one of our
there's actually a fabulous meditation that I can even forward you, and she's this Australian energetic Reiki healer woman, I don't know, and she talks about money in that way. If this was a relationship,
it's like sit down, have dinner with it, you know, really. Like, how would you kind of almost court, like that courting,
right. Like? And I really, that was the first time that I got the feeling like, oh my God, it's energy, as we're saying. We can make that energy into, you know, anthropomorphic, and, you know, sort of make it something that you can relate to. And like you're saying, what kind of relationship?
It's a game changer, isn't it? When you think about that, you're like, wow, like every other relationship in my life, with, you know, most of the things I do, I kind of consciously choose how I act or behave. But with money, it's like you've not thought about, what am I giving back? How am I gratefully receiving that as a gift? Like we don't, do we? So it's so balanced already in our society. So no wonder why there's this really interesting, like, just stuckness around it, and there's not a flow, because we're not in energetic alignment with it, are we, at all?
Right. I like that, energetic alignment. And with the Kabbalah, they talk about that you're meant to have everything, and that there's no, you know, it's like air, it's all around you, it exists.
We're stopping that cycle.
The ones that are
prohibiting it.
Yeah, exactly. And I did have the first thing that I did, I tithed for the first time ever. And then it was so interesting when I did it. I swear it was like 10 minutes later, I suddenly got a royalty check that I wasn't expecting at all, for a nice amount, and was like, what? This is so amazing. So I think, like you're saying, this energetic alignment, you know, there has to be this also this trust. That's the part that's the scariest, you know, like, really, I'm gonna give
we don't actually trust. We don't trust it. We never get shown. I'm going through a process actually at the moment where I'm giving up my day job and I'm like transitioning into kind of more of a, you know, standing on my own 2 feet. And it's exactly that, because if you don't leap, then you don't know that you can be held, and that you don't know that you can be supported, and things will just work out because you're already holding on so tightly to like this salary, which I always say, you know, it's not a big salary, but for me it's there's fear and security in that. And I think for me, my biggest lesson with money, and I really want to like almost write a bit about this, but is when I jump and like really consciously being aware of like how the relationship with money for me changes, because I'm in that cycle still of being dependent on it. But as soon as I step away, it's going to be scary. But I think I will open myself up for kind of a lot more opportunity through doing that, I think, actually.
Definitely. Yes. Leap and the wings should appear.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. And I'll just keep you posted on that. I'll let you know.
Okay. Okay. Good. Well, I definitely know that being a freelancer and there's no, you know, steady, and maybe that's also what plays with this trust, you know, that I don't have this security of the monthly, you know, income. So I guess I'm trusting myself that I'm gonna have to figure it out. But I definitely resonated with the woman saying the abandonment of money, or that when I thought of this was interesting, when I really thought about money as a relationship, like I'm courting it, I actually thought, oh, he's too slick for me. He's gonna dump me at some point. You know, I'm not on his level.
We're not deserving of it, or we're not.
I'm not deserving of it. Yeah, and that was like, what? Oh my God!
So interesting. I think that'd be such a common belief though, like if we got into that kind of courting relationship in terms of that, I think everyone would feel like almost not equivalent, or like not deserving in some way. And I think again, that's society belief. So it's us saying that isn't my belief, that's society's belief. I don't have to adopt that belief just because everyone around me adopts that belief, right? Like we have a choice, but we don't think we do, because often it feels strange to think differently when everyone else around us is like having that belief or that relationship with money in that way. So there's lots here. I think this has really helped us, hasn't it, David? Like really unpick this a bit more and help shape that next bit. Because I do think this relationship bit is quite fundamental to like the program we're building moving forward. Because I think selling it as, you know, do you want to build a relationship with money could be a really frame that would be sell it, actually.
Very powerful. I did buy this book called The Art of Money, and I liked her approach because it felt more like human, more like this relational thing. And it was very cute. She's like, okay, you know, when you sit down to have a money, you know, session, bring out the chocolate, you know, get all the things that you need to make you feel, you know, okay or safe.
So true, like comfort. Whereas when we do our finances at the moment, when we do like our log at the end of the month, we probably like have our work stuff on and we're at our desk and we have a bright light. But it's not like creating a ritual. Our body doesn't feel safe and protected in that moment. It's very clinical.
So true. And like, you know, put on lipstick and say,
"Wear your best dress."
Yeah, exactly. Like this is so I liked the language that she was using in the book. And so I could definitely say, just from my perspective, that the more humanizing of the money is the better, because you'll get to the technical aspects anyway, but you need that connection first. It will be too dry if you just go and say, okay, you need to know these terms, which are important. But I think it's more, just judging from the women that were on the call, we're all, you know, the same way that we're trying to redefine really our relationship with money. And
So interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
I could talk about this all day. I find it so fascinating, I think, because I get to do this work all the time, but in this subject I don't. And I think, God, there's just so much how if we get this right here, we can get it right anywhere, can't we, really?
There's a couple of other things I wanted to share with you, just because I'm just a bit conscious of time. Speak on the topic of books. There's a brilliant book. I've just sent in the link in the chat box.
Oh, okay, great.
If you want to have a look at that, it's Secret Language of Money: How to Make Smarter Financial Decisions and Live a Richer Life. So I'd highly recommend looking at that at some point. There's a bit of homework for you. And another thing that I found was this take the Money Harmony quiz.
Oh,
so nice. Effectively, it's I think it's about 20 or 30 questions, but it comes out with what your own spending tendencies are. So if you're a money hoarder, or spender, or money monk, or
great.
an avoider, or an amasser. And I mean, that could have even been a session. We could build one around Natalie, but being really interested to see what that comes back with. And perhaps you could share that with us, and we can maybe have a chat about because of the outcomes. That'd be really interesting to see. Or actually, what we could maybe do is do one at the start of the course.
And how it's changed
for everyone, and then one at the end.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. That could be pre-work and then almost a bit of a reflection over the 4 to 6 weeks of how it's changed, because people might change a hoarder into more of an opportunist, for example.
Yeah. So let us know what that comes back with.
Yeah, definitely.
And that'd be really interesting.
Wow, so this is the end.
But do keep in touch with us, because what might be good actually, Cyril, is that I'm thinking, especially if we build this online learning bit that I have for my course, it might be good to give you access, get you set up on it, and just get you to have a little look through it for us. Would be
my God, I would love to. And I was going to I was actually going to mention that a gazillion years ago, I completely forgot it. I did a money course online, and I still have all the PDFs. And that was the most transformational at that time. This was, 15 years ago. And I completely forgot about it until you just talked about this. But I think these would be super invaluable for you. And they're great questions. Amazing. There's tons of questions, but I think that's important. You have to kind of bombard people and keep getting that, where's the
it's not something you can deliver. I think we learned quite quickly you can't just rock up and talk for an hour. It's very facilitated, it's very reflective, and I think without people reflecting on it, they're not going to see any change.
Precisely.
So it's very led by the participant, which is why the homework's a really important part, I think.
Exactly what I just wanted to say. Yeah, it is a process. And I think as you're mentioning, for the next time, the quiz up front, here's a mirror check of where you are, and then do that again at the end is great. I just did a yoga class, and they did that in the yoga class. Notice where you are right now. And then half an hour later, they said, okay, check back. How do you feel now? And it was oh my God, that was so brilliant to make me do that exercise. So I'll look. I have to find where those PDFs are, but I would love to look, have a sneak peek, and I'm happy to share this PDF, and so we can do a little.
That would be amazing feedback. So I think just you'll help us just understand how that's landing, and before it goes out live, because
perfect
kind of online bit with it, really. But if we're going to spend June doing that together, so if we get you kind of something towards the end of June, then obviously we can get some feedback from you, and then
okay.
It's been so nice to be able to do this in a small group, because I think that's actually what we needed, just to really bounce some ideas back and forth, really. But
no, it worked. As we know, we had to trust that it all works out.
How it's meant to.
I'll find those PDFs and I'll send those, and we'll stay in touch. And looking forward to being your guinea pig.
Our guinea pig,
Thank
you
so
both
much.
so much for all your time and energy and effort. I really enjoyed it, and it really did make a difference. So I'm happy to help and be your testimonial.
Thanks ever so much.
So much. Maybe it's even a video, Cyril, might be good. A video testimonial might
yeah,
be good.
Exactly. Okay, I will. I'll
speak to you soon.
Okay.
Cheers. Bye. Bye.